All right, this is the big one, man. This is the big one. This is the one that like everybody's talking about. It's taking all over the news cycle. So I'm gonna try and keep this as much of a bean as I possibly can. So look at it this way, right? If I told you there was a guy who represented Canada at the Olympics, then allegedly went on to become a high-level cocaine trafficker tied to the Sinaloa cartel, you'd assume that this was a Netflix pitch that got rejected for being cap, for being too unrealistic, for being some bullshit. No, this is life is stranger than fiction. So this is the story of Ryan Wedding, a man who went from carving half pipes to allegedly carving up international drug routes and somehow managed to combine elite athletics, transnational organized crime, and the world's most ironic law enforcement operation named Operation Giant Slalom. I don't know why I said it like that. Operation Giant Slalom. They really called it that. No one in the RCMP has subtlety at all. So we start at the first act, right? Like, who is Ryan Wedding? Ryan Wedding was born in Canada and rose to prominence as a professional snowboarder, eventually representing Canada at the 2002 Winter Olympics in Salt Lake City in the Giant Slalom event, right? At that point in his life, his resume read Olympic athlete, sponsored competitor, national level sports success. And at this stage, nothing about his public persona screamed future international narcotics broker. But here's the first important theme of this story, right? So you have elite sports build skills that transfer disturbingly well to organized crime. Then you have discipline. Then you have logistics. Then you have risk tolerance. Then you have traveling internationally without raising eyebrows. Then you have being comfortable with being under pressure. Then you have knowing how to move money and move people. These skills do not disappear when the medals stop. They don't. So we can dive into the second act, right? Like, this is the post-Olympic limbo, right? Where athletes go to get weird, right? After competitive snowboarding, Wedding didn't transition into coaching or commentary. Instead, he drifted, and this is where nuance matters, right? There is no evidence he immediately jumped from Olympic villages into cartel meetings. What did happen, according to investigators, is a gradual pivot into drug trafficking circles, starting at a mid-level distribution role and then scaling upwards. So by the late 2000s and early 2010s, Wedding was allegedly involved in cocaine trafficking, money movement, international coordination, logistics rather than street-level dealing. This wasn't corner boy behavior. This was white-collar crime with gym bags. So you have the third act, right? We're gonna start the third act off like this, right? So the business model, how he operated. His alleged strength wasn't violence, it was coordination. So investigators, they described him as a broker, a connector, a logistics organizer, and his base of operations shifted but consistently included Mexico, the US, and his home base of Canada. So he allegedly functioned as a northbound cocaine pipeline manager connecting Mexican suppliers to Canadian and US distributors, and this is where the Sinaloa cartel enters the picture. Fourth act. So the Sinaloa connection, this is not a side quest. Wedding was allegedly connected to Sinaloa cartel supply chains, one of the most powerful drug trafficking organizations in the world. I would argue prior to the last few years before Cartel Jalisco took over, they were the biggest. They moved the most weight in the entire planet. So it's important nuance with Ryan, right? He wasn't a cartel boss. He was not a made member. He was not El Chapo's right-hand man. Instead, investigators allege he acted as a trusted external partner, someone who could move product, could move money, could stay quiet, could manage downstream distribution, and that role is extremely valuable, right? So cartels, they rely heavily on non-Mexican intermediaries to operate in North America. And these are people who speak the language, speak the Spanish language, or speak the English language, whatever, bilingual, understand local systems, blend into professional environments, don't draw attention crossing borders, and Wedding allegedly fit that profile to a T perfectly. So that brings us back to the crew, right? Operation Giant Slalom. Now let's talk about Operation Giant Slalom, because this is where things get cinematic. This was a multi-year, multinational investigation involving US and Canadian authorities targeting a cocaine trafficking network tied to Wedding. I mean, you had Kash Patel all up on the podium, motherfucking, grandstanding about this shit. And yes, they named it after his Olympic event, which is funny. That's funny. Law enforcement absolutely enjoys itself sometimes. Key figures connected to this case included Malik Cunningham, which is, I don't know if you could point that out on here, but it's the black dude, I want to say fourth on the bottom row. It's this young youth from Toronto, got him out of jail, meaning Wedding got him out of jail. He was allegedly part of Wedding's distribution and logistics network. He helped move cocaine and money across borders. He wasn't the flashy guy. He wasn't the face. He was allegedly the operational muscle behind the movement, right? He was the Sicario, the hitman. Think spreadsheets, vehicles, routes, drop points, not Scarface monologues. And the rest of these guys, the other defendants in this case, there are multiple men who were arrested or charged as part of the operation, each filing specialized roles: transport coordination, cash handling, storage, regional distribution. And this was not a gang of impulsive criminals. It was an enterprise. Investigators alleged the network moved hundreds of kilograms of cocaine, generating millions of dollars in proceeds. It was no chains, no colors, just logistics and silence. And I want you guys to like look into this, right? Because part of that includes like the Hawala system, which is like this ancient trust-based and informal method for transferring money across borders without physically moving the currency, operating independently of traditional banking. It originated back in 8th century India, and it relies on a network of brokers across the globe. And a lot of terrorist groups have used this, like Al Qaeda, ISIS, et cetera, et cetera. They use that a part of this operation, or a part of their dealings. So this is and I don't know if I've skipped a couple acts. I'm sorry. I'm usually more organized in this, but this brings us to like the 6th act, right? So you have Wedding's leadership style and why this lasted so long. So according to court filings and law enforcement reporting, he allegedly avoided unnecessary violence. He wasn't above it, but he avoided it for the most part. He delegated aggressively, kept his personal exposure low. There's not too many photos of this guy online. He used intermediaries. He maintained plausible deniability wherever possible. And this is why his case took years to build. He wasn't sloppy. He wasn't loud. He wasn't Instagramming his crimes, which frankly already puts him above 60% of criminals these days. I mean, shit. So you have the 7th act, the fall, which just happened, and I wouldn't even know if I call it a fall, because I would say that he allegedly turned himself in. Usually when somebody on his level does that, it means that there's a deal in place. But, eventually, though, scale becomes visibility and visibility becomes evidence. So the Operation Giant Slalom culminated in arrests, indictments, and the dismantling of the network. Wedding was arrested and charged in the U.S., facing serious federal drug trafficking allegations. And this wasn't a bad decision charge. This was conspiracy, international trafficking, cartel-linked distribution. The kinds of charges where the sentence is measured in decades, not years. Then we go to the 8th act, which is the irony, right? And why this story hits like crack, why it hits like motherfucking crack in the 80s, right? His story isn't just wild. It's tragic in a uniquely modern way. He had elite athletic achievement, national representation, a platform most people would kill for, and he allegedly traded it in for a life on the run, federal indictments, association with one of the world's most violent criminal organizations. It's not a story about desperation. It's a story about ambition without brakes. So long story short, he didn't look like a criminal, and that's the point, right? And that's where I'm gonna end this shit off at. Like, he looked like a guy who knew how to fly under the radar, because for years he did. So he went from Olympic slopes to international smuggling routes to Operation Giant Slalom. This is what modern organized crime looks like. No fedoras, no shootouts, just spreadsheets, burner phones, and one hell of a downfall, right? So that's Ryan Wedding. His story is fucking nuts. And we should hear more about this like in the coming days, as I know he was like arraigned or whatever the fuck. And yeah, man, I got more of these videos coming. I'm a branch out into some other regions across the globe, particularly like the Caribbean and Latin America. Give me some suggestions if you like. And yeah, I'm gonna put this on both X, TikTok, and YouTube. All three. You can follow me on TikTok and X at 404Lord. And I'm out this bitch, guys. I appreciate you for checking in.